उसको खोने जाने के बाद ही समझ आ सकती है. This quote in Hindi translates to, one can only truly understand the value of something after losing it. These past few years, we as a society have experienced so much loss. Some of us have lost family members, some of us friends, some of us pets, and some of us jobs. So many important things. However, there's one thing we as a society all lost, collectively. That one thing is intrinsic to being human. Its absence was felt in the hearts, in the minds, and bodies of every single individual on this planet, whether they realize it or not. So what is this one thing? This one thing is social interaction. Social interaction is defined as the act of positively conversing and exchanging ideas in a physical environment with one or more individuals. But to me, social interaction isn't just a definition, it's life. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning, and it's what gets me going through the week. Because I know that at the end of a hard week at school, after taking a lot of tests, giving a presentation, maybe even a TED Talk, I can go and hang out with my friends. They can cheer me up, and I can get those positive benefits. It really gives me happiness to interact with others. So if I love social interaction so much, and it's such a big part of my life, how did I survive without it? Entering lockdown, I was so excited to be on a break from school that was only supposed to last a few days. But as time progressed and I realized this wasn't just a few days, when the days turned into weeks, into months, and into a year, my excitement and appreciation for this break turned into an unhealthy dislike and annoyance. I woke up at whatever time I wanted to, I slept whenever, unable to communicate with anyone without the help of advice. As a result, my mental health began to worsen. I was despondent, spiraling deeper and deeper into a pit of despair, just because I was locked away from the outside world. This social isolation was burning a hole through me, and I could do nothing about it. Everything that used to seem fun wasn't fun anymore. Even connecting with those people who I had once known to be my best friends through a screen was hurtful rather than rejuvenating. However, everything changed when I received one email, just one email, and that said, we're going back to school. Lockdown had been lifted. I was elated. I was overjoyed. I was so excited to be returning to that routine, the routine that I'd once thought it would be good to take a break from, the routine that I actually missed. When I returned to that routine, waking up at 8, going to school at 9, coming home at 3, sleeping at 11, I realized though, that life was different. Something had changed, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So what was it? All I noticed was that I now had trouble connecting with those who I thought to be my best friends, my teachers, and my peers. I now had trouble meeting new people. It took two things, courage and thinking, something it had never required before. I had to think about what I was going to say before I introduced myself to someone I didn't know. I was frankly frightened by all the effects that this social isolation had on me. However, as time progressed, I realized that I should be thankful because COVID only lasted a year for me, and it didn't have such horrifying effects on me as it did on the rest of society. A Forbes survey from 2022 reports that 59% of adults find it harder to form relationships post-COVID. That's a really large amount. That's more than half of the adults in this world. 20% of adults are scared, and 25% of adults feel anxious at the thought of socializing with strangers. 52% of adults feel more isolated, and 29% feel more depressed. I'm not telling you these stats to scare you, but I'm telling you these stats because it's important that we know what we need to work on. Last but not least, 62% of adults find it hard just to talk to someone that they don't know, a stranger. This could be like asking a Costco employee for a sample at a booth, or asking someone where the bathroom is in a supermarket. Something just simple as that. However, these are just the effects on adults. Let's look at the effects on teenagers. Me being a teenager, this really resonates with me because I firsthand experienced these effects. The teenagers are monumental changes occur in our body due to hormones being released and we going through puberty. Physical changes occur and mental changes, both inside of our body and outside. So taking away social interaction is detrimental, so detrimental that it can cause things like premature aging. The National Library of Medicine research suggests that suicidal ideation, anxiety, and depression had increased rates due to social isolation in teens. Bay Area teens had their brain scanned at the beginning of lockdown, and scientists from the Bay Area compared these MRI brain scans to their brains 10 months into lockdown. The results were shocking. These teens, aged 3 years in just 10 months, 3 whole years. This type of aging can also be seen in teens who experience violence, neglect, and abuse. This type of aging can correlate to future risk of addiction, both alcohol and drugs, dementia, hypertension, risk of cancer, diabetes, all kinds of diseases. Holt Lunsad colleagues at Brigham Young University analyzed 148 research articles and came to the conclusion that having lesser social connections is twice as harmful as having obesity. They also came to the conclusion as not being socially active in your community or around in a physical environment can cause things like anxiety, depression, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, stroke, heart attack, heart disease. All diseases that can be prevented just by talking to someone. Additionally, loneliness can correlate to neurodegenerative diseases afflicting individuals earlier in their life rather than when they averagely do. So now I've told you a bunch of depressing things, which I'm sorry, but I had to because I need to raise awareness for this issue. Let's talk about what social interaction can do for you, the benefits of social interaction. I'm very passionate about this topic because I've experienced it firsthand, and I hope you guys can too. So, social interaction, when you shake hands with someone socially interacting, a chemical called oxytocin is released into our body. This lowers stress levels by releasing cortisol. And that lessening of cortisol brings out happiness and it takes away stress we were experiencing. Psychologist Susan Pinker talks about how dopamine is released into our body, a naturally produced morphine, in her words. Something that relieves pain. In case you guys don't know, morphine is a pain reliever drug. Morphine is one of the strongest, given to those who have undergone surgery recently. And dopamine, just shaking hands with someone or talking to them, has almost the same effect. Isn't that crazy? Additionally, stats from the National Library of Medicine also report that having greater social bonds, you have 50% more likelihood of survival rather than someone who has lesser social bonds. 50%. That's literally halfway the difference between life and death. So now that I told you a few things about social interaction, I want you to think about the quote I told you in the beginning. एक चीज की सच्ची कीमत उसे खोने के बाद ही समझ आ सकती है. This translates to, one can only truly understand the value of something once they've lost it. For me, it was social interaction. I was taking it for granted, so I hadn't truly understood its value until I lost it in these past few years. Now, I try to step out of my comfort zone. I try to talk to more people. I try to see the good in everyone and make a connection. I hope that you can do the same with this information. I hope that in the near future, you too step out of your comfort zone. Talk to a stranger maybe. And maybe, just maybe, you might make a new friend. Thank you.